Hello and welcome to Local Impact You Can Make a Difference. Tonight's speaker, Christiane Menesis Jacobs, is a veteran educator and she's a career readiness expert. She has over 25 years of experience. Now you might say, but hold on a minute, that's not our audience tonight. That's not who we are. Well, the information that she has is the kind of thing that maybe a lot of us already know. Some of it we may have forgotten. Some of it we may need a refresher, or life's changed. Things have moved on maybe since we learned some of the things about professional skills. So tonight, though, we're going to talk about first impressions, campaign tips for elected officers. Christiane's going to draw from her many years of experience. And she has a book. She's a multi-award winning author and publisher, and she was the founding editor of Iguana, a premier Spanish magazine for children, for a decade. So she's well qualified to be talking with us. She earned prestigious honors in literacy and education, including the Ana Maria Arias Memorial Business Fund, the Latino Future Magazine Business Award, and the Children's Publication Award from the National Association of Multicultural Education. She holds a master's degree in education. She's been featured in Successful Americans of Central American Heritage and Biography Today. I think she's going to be able to help us move from the campaign trail into elected office, or get onto the campaign trail for elected office with confidence. She's going to focus tonight on personal appearance, social skills, professional etiquette, and digital citizenship. Christiane, welcome. What a long list of qualifications. I think we're all going to learn something tonight. Can you tell me again the name of your book?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Yes, my book is called Professional Life Skills for Young Adults, 7 Keys to Empower Career Readiness.
And how long has your book been out?
It's been out for like about a year now.
Oh, good. Okay. So you've
It's a
got
baby.
some good sales. I'm just going to have you start right in. Maybe you could talk with us first about personal appearance, or whatever order you've got things in. Just feel free to get going. And I may have questions. And when I do, I'll just jump in and ask.
Yes, I was thinking a lot about this topic and how it relates to the book and how it relates to everything that you're talking about in your show. So a political campaign is like the ultimate job interview. So if a
Yes.
candidate shows up unprepared or disorganized, for example, to a town hall or like a Chamber of Commerce breakfast or even to a debate, voters are going to assume that that's the way this person, this candidate is going to run for public office the exact same way. So,
Yeah.
and that's how they're going to run their campaign.
So what do they need to do about personal appearance? Do you have any tips on that? Things that could be helpful for first impressions?
Yes, so sometimes I was thinking about the dress code that I talk about in my book and how candidates need to adjust their attire based on the venue that they're going to be at. For example, a union hall, a meeting with different voters from different neighborhoods, also a Chamber of Commerce breakfast, a debate, and make sure that they address that their attire to that audience without looking like fake or like they're overdressed. So it's very, very important to look like you belong to the people.
Any other tips on personal appearance that might help people running for office or people once they're in office?
Well, it's very important, like to make sure that you have eye contact, you make eye contact with everyone, that your posture is very firm, that you shake hands with people, and that something important that people will remember is, do you remember their name? That is very important. So make sure that you are talking to people, to potential voters, that you ask them their name, that you shake hands, a firm handshake with them, and that you ask and repeat the name, because that is very important. That makes a very good impression because you only have like 30 seconds to make a very good impression on potential voters. They're going to know this person cares about me. Are they listening, to what I'm saying? Are they asking me questions? Because if you're the kind of a candidate who's like, I'm listening to you, but you're looking somewhere else, like trying to find somebody else, then you're not putting 100% on the person you're talking to. And that leaves a bad impression on that candidate. No, that candidate didn't care about what I had to say. So make sure that you are paying attention, because the first impression you give, that is going to be very valuable for the voters, because they are going to probably not remember every policy point that you made, but voters are going to remember how the candidate made them feel in the first 30 seconds that they're met.
Are there other social skills that candidates should be aware of that will help them?
Making a lasting first impression, it's like an art, asking about their concerns rather than diving into your speech. What I've noticed with some candidates when I've been to some places, they arrive early, they arrive prepared, and they're very friendly. Before they go up on stage, they start shaking hands with people, asking them, making them feel like I am part of you, I'm part of you, the people. I'm going to represent you, making sure that also they match their emotions and their tone when they are speaking, whether they're showing empathy to a distressed voter or the energy of the crowd when everybody gets very excited about the candidate. That is very important because a winning campaign, I'm sure, is built on listening to the constituents, their concerns, instead of doing all the talk. We recently had the primaries here in Arizona, and I was actually very impressed with one of the candidates for our first congressional district. It's very hot right now in Arizona during the summer. And it must have been like maybe 100, 110 degrees. And he was walking around the neighborhood, knocking on everybody's door. And he came to our door and he knocked. And I looked through the window and I'm like, who is this guy? And then I opened, he wasn't wearing a suit, thank God, because it was too hot, but he was wearing like jeans and a button down shirt. Like he looked very down to earth. And I opened the door and he introduced himself and he said who he was. And I said, oh, yeah, I know you. I've read about you. He just stayed and talked with us, me and my husband, for maybe 20 minutes. He was asking us questions and he left a very good impression on me. I thought his social skills were really good. He did very little talking and he wanted to hear about our concerns. And I said, yeah, definitely you will get our vote.
I see that. People will say, well, you're the only one who came to my door. And
Mhm.
so I'm going to vote for the person who bothered to come talk to me. That's a really good tip. And also, just simply knocking on doors is a very good tip.
In fact, a reporter asked him why he thought that he won the primary, and he said, I believe it's because I went door to door talking to the
Wow.
constituents, because none of the
Wow.
other candidates did that. And I say, yeah, I think so. Communicating effectively, part of your social skill as well. And especially across diverse demographic group without sounding that you're fake, that you're trying to just build that demographic and you just want their vote. Like a lot of
Mhm.
people, a lot of the candidates want the Latino vote. They don't even know who we are. They don't even
Mhm.
know that we come from different countries in Latin America. And also that not all of us speak Spanish. There are a lot of Latinos born here in the US who don't, and that our
Yes.
cultural differences are different. Even though we are all our cultures are the same, we're also different in many ways. So it's important to make sure that if you're a candidate, that you address the demographic genuinely, that you really show that you care and that you understand the specific population of voters. That's something, that candidates need to be aware of,
It
especially
is.
because the Latino voting bloc is really huge. I've listened in the past to candidates who speak at debates and they are probably being sponsored by Univision or Telemundo, the major Spanish
Mhm.
networks. It's very good if they do speak some Spanish. So that earns them a lot of votes. People feel very excited. Oh, my candidate even took the time to learn some Spanish and was able to say some things to us in Spanish. So it's winning points for at least saying, hola, ¿cómo están? Telemundo and Univision are the two major Hispanic Spanish networks.
Any other professional etiquette tips?
Well, I was thinking about behavioral skills as well, because sometimes these places where the candidates come and hold town hall meetings, sometimes they might become very hot topic. People may get very angry with the candidates. They might be upset about something that they might have said in the past and they didn't do it, or something that makes voters upset. So the way a candidate handles some kind of aggressive question, it shows how the person is going to handle a very tough question. So shifting, from like being defensive to being constructive and being a person who is solution oriented, I think that wins you better votes from people as opposed to being somebody who is during an interview or a press briefing or a town hall being aggressive and responding in a negative way. It doesn't look good. So it's better to communicate how disciplined you are before speaking, that you're listening before speaking a single word, and not going right away on the attack on other candidates or feeling defensive. So remain calm and listen to what the voters are saying and not try to make them angry, but be compassionate and show some empathy.
What about digital citizenship? What is digital citizenship and how should we be doing that?
Well, what I tell my high school and college students is that you need to clean up your social media. You don't want to put out there something, some kind of video that is just going to make you look really bad. If you're going to be embarrassed by something that your mother, your grandmother is going to see, don't put it out there. I tell the kids, do not talk about drugs, do not talk about sex, do not talk about guns, do not talk about violence. Leave all of that out. So it's very important to clean up their social media. So in terms of a candidate, a voter's first impression is often going to happen on social media before they meet the candidate in person. So how the candidate comes across in their social media post, it has to be aligned with what the people see in person, because then they're going to have a feeling that they are fake. They're just put on in persona. This is not who they really are. So there has to be a balancing with the campaign statements, short videos that reveal who the candidate really is. And if there's something in the past that is probably has been posted on their social media, make sure it gets removed. Even though, we say everything that goes on the internet, it's there forever. At least, you're making an effort to clean up who you are as a person. Knowing when to engage with online feedback is also very important constructively, instead of ignoring, whatever the obvious is. It shows us bad faith if you are not, if you're ignoring it. So being constructive with the feedback that people put out are there. And something, very important is make sure that everything is positive and that you are answering to the needs of the constituent. That's what they want to see. They want to see, what is this person going to do for us? What is they going to help us? Especially, is this a candidate who is running for public office because he or she really wants to help the poor or wants to help the working class? And how are they going to help us lift us up instead of pushing us down? How are they going to really do that? In terms of the professional etiquette that you talk about, it's very important to write handwritten thank you notes or personalized messages to everybody who volunteered for your campaign, to your donors, everybody who came in contact with your campaign and with you as a candidate. Because winning over undecided voters by treating the political opponents with professional courtesy rather than personal attacks is also important. But people feel appreciated, even if you didn't win the primaries or you didn't win the election. Thanking every single person who was there and working so hard to get you elected. And it means a lot to people. I remember I participated when I was younger in college. I participated in a few of those presidential campaigns. And even though I was just a college intern, I felt so appreciated that the candidate came and shook hands with me and was so appreciative. Oh, it made me so excited and so happy that even I was a very low level person in the campaign, that this candidate took the time to thank me in person.
Your book, Professional Life Skills for Young Adults, and your website is www.nicagal.com, and that's spelled NICAGAL.com. Are there other ways that people can contact you?
Yes, so nicagal.com is my website, NICAGAL.com. And that comes from being a girl from Nicaragua. That's where I'm from. So I've have experience with politics. And if you would like my book, it's available on Amazon, Professional Life Skills for Young Adults, 7 Keys to Empower Career Readiness. And I was going to tell you that my grandfather ran for president of Nicaragua back in 1948.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes,
Wow.
I asked my mother about him before we, like about a week ago when I was putting together all this information that I wanted to share. And she said that he was a very strong candidate, that people really liked to hear him speak, that he was the kind of candidate who took the time to meet every single person that came to listen to him. And I said, wow,
Wow.
wouldn't that take a long time? And she said, yes. Drove my grandmother crazy.
I think
So
that's wonderful.
yes, so and people would come from different towns and different areas of the country just to listen to him speak. And one of the thing is because he had, my mother said he was very eloquent and he had a very magnetic personality. People really like listening to him. And I know that when I was growing up, people would come to our house just to sit down on a rocking chair with him, just to talk to him, because people would just learn from him. So he was running for the Liberal Party. There were different candidates, but unfortunately, during that time in Nicaragua, we had a dictatorship. All of a sudden, all these different candidates started like waking up dead or dropping dead. So my grandmother said to my grandfather, you better withdraw your candidacy or you're going to be next. My grandfather always listened to my grandmother and he withdrew his campaign. He withdrew from campaigning because he had 7 young children and didn't want to leave my grandma raising 7 kids. Nicaragua is very politically unstable. It's not unheard of that the opposition would kill the candidate.
One of the things that I've observed, I think Nicaragua actually is known for having a pretty happy populace. And sometimes you wonder, how does that happen
Yeah.
when people have to withdraw because they're afraid they're going to end up dead? And it seems to always come forth, well, it's because it's a cultural thing, it's a social thing, it's a different ways of interacting with one another. One of the things too that I've observed is that in South America, they discovered pretty early on that often when women are in office, they are less corrupt. And so it started really promoting women in office. I don't know if you have any experience of that or any thoughts on that, feedback.
In Nicaragua, we elected the first woman president, Doña Violeta Barrios de Chamorro. That was in 1990. And I was already living here in the US. I know that that was very significant. I did read that there was less corruption in the country. Unfortunately, she was almost in her 80s, so she didn't run for office again. But somebody else did, and that person became very corrupt.
When you say somebody else, was it a male or a female?
A male. We
And
haven't had
it's
another woman president. And right now we have Daniel Ortega, who is the president, and his wife, who is the vice president.
it all sounds so bad in Nicaragua, but it can be pretty dangerous here too. You
Mm-hmm.
go up against the corruption and you pay a price a lot of times. And sometimes that price is that you end up dead. Not to the same extent, probably, but it happened here too.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
I think it's more hidden. It's not a popular topic. Americans like to think that they don't do that,
Yeah.
but we do.
It's not, it's, I guess it's not unheard of, but it's not that widely popular.
Not to the same degree. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
Well, I have some last tips that I thought
Uh-huh.
were interesting. When a candidate, it's important to look at themselves on video, how they come across. Watching, like for example, the first 30 seconds or the first 1 minute of their a speech without the sound, just to watch body language, how they come across before they even open their mouth. I think it's very important that body language, what does it convey to the voters? What are they seeing? What is your body language saying before you even speak? My last tip would be stating who you are, why you're running, and how you're going to solve the constituents' problems in half a minute. How are you going to do that? So you really need to know who you are as a person, why are you doing this? Because running for office is a grueling process. It's really hard. All the dirty laundry comes out, huh? And how you're going to solve the problems of the people, those 3 things, how you're going to do that in 30 seconds, that is going to be very, very powerful and very impactful to the voters.
Thank you so much. You went places that I never thought of, and it really was extremely helpful. And I don't think that any of this is limited just to young people. I think that many of us, even those of us who've been running for office for years or served for years, it's all really helpful information. If you ever decide to run for office, let us know.
Yeah.